What's up? What's up? What is up? It's another Friday, another opportunity for the Ball Hog Sports Talk to come to you, both in a live audience capacity and for those who like to listen in podcasts or on the YouTube channel. We thank you. Welcome to the Ball Hog Sports Talk. This is where sports, business, and entertainment collide. It's a great morning to talk sports, business, and entertainment. And we got us a good show this morning. We got a good show this morning. I don't know if you have been watching, but the sports world was rocked this week by a particular person that goes by the moniker Prime Time. So today's show, the episode is called Prime Time, not only in a celebration and tribute to the Prime Time, the man who wore 21 and covered half the field, but also because of so many other prime time sports and business entertainment moments from this week. I promise you, you don't want to miss this show. Lock in and load, baby. Put on your seatbelt. It's going to be the whole crew coming to you. It's your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Miss Success and Celebration, a.k.a. Breezy. And I'll be joined by the crew very shortly. The sports, business, and entertainment world will be on its heels as we dig in today. It's the Ball Hog Sports Talk. Welcome to the show. Let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go. You know what it is, y'all. I'm excited about the Ball Hog Sports Talk every single Friday. Every single opportunity to be with these two gentlemen. Every single opportunity to be in front of our audience. But today's topics, man, we really had to work and fight to decide what was going to make it in and what was going to be cut out because it's just so much good stuff in sports, business, and entertainment this week. Today's episode is called Prime Time. And Prime Time, let me look to the definition, is defined, commonly known as that 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern, Pacific, and 7 to 10 Central Mountain Time. It's a time where occurring the television or radio audience expected to be as great. It's typically the hours between 8 and 11, as I stated. But for us, it's the morning time where we are also going to be.
We're reclaiming it. We're reclaiming
Prime
time
it,
in the morning, baby. Let's go.
So I would be remiss if I didn't welcome to the show. You know who it is, the Big Flow Show. What's up, my brother?
Man, what's good? What's good? It's prime time. He got his hair out. He doing big things today, showing out. Everybody, you know what I'm saying? Let's go, man. Gotta let your hair down sometimes, man. I'm waiting on my turn, but you know it's good.
Yeah, it's gonna come, baby. It's gonna come, man. You gotta think positively. Your hair is gonna grow, brother.
It's all coming back. Let's go.
And then we have, for those who are not in the live audience and cannot see what we're talking about, good. ETP Ellis, the producer, laid his hair down. He got the hat off. What's up, ETP? How you doing this morning, my brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You know, the hair situation, I'm at the point in age where if I cut it, it may not come back. So I figure I'll let it keep going for now.
Hold on.
I don't want to start the trend. I gotta let it just keep coming.
Just keep it on, man. And look, man, we named this show Prime Time because it's been a crazy week. But before we get into the prime time topics of sports, business, and entertainment, there is a particular young man who played for Naperville Central.
Yes, sir.
In the Chicago metropolitan area.
Yes, sir.
There was yesterday, Wednesday. The early signing period. Wednesday, sorry, 2 days ago. And family to this show, near and dear to our heart. We want everybody to know because 24/7 did its ranking of all the top signees in the early signing period for each Big Ten team. Look at Northwestern, y'all.
Let's go, baby.
Y'all see that in? Y'all see that name?
Let's go.
It's the real Big Flow Show. We got the duplicate here. We got the knockoff. We got the generic brand. The real Big Flow Show is right
know that
there.
We didn't do all that, but
I'm sorry, man. That's what's gonna happen. You gotta pass the torch, brother. We all pass the torch.
You gotta get the backhanded compliments.
Okay.
You gotta pass the torch, man. Officially, he is a Division I signee in the early signing period. But not just that. It don't stop there. You got to coordinate. 2022 recruiting class, top commits, national rankings. Reggie Florima from Northwestern. That's right, near and dear to our heart, man. Shout out to you, man.
Appreciate y'all, man. I tell you what, it's been a crazy journey as a dad. And like this is happening, but when you sit there, playing at a collegiate level, being a fan for a long time, and working with your seed to look up and be like, damn, they recognize it. So it was all right. This was kind of cool to see on the TV screen. Look at me and my wife looking up there like, I cannot believe they're talking about our little shorty. So
that's what's up, brother. So all of the taking the taking to practices, the extra workouts. So y'all don't know. I am
appreciate you, Scott Bill.
I'm nosy, so I get to see behind the scenes, and I see what the Big Flow Show 1 and 2 do to prepare, including having a jug machine and all the stuff that you did, man. That had to make it feel as though it was all worth it.
It does. See that. $83,000 a year is worth it. I got my ROI on my jugs machine, my Vertimax, all the footballs and the bags, and all the camps and running around the trainers. And my trainer, I'm sorry, I love you, Kofi, but I'm not paying you no more. It's fantastic. It's over, man. It's over. It's a wrap. I appreciate you, though, man. You did so much for him, but
get an NIL deal, make him pay now.
Yeah,
you know what
sure.
I mean?
Pay us. We'll be straight. Nah, I love
Hey, man.
Shout out to Kofi Hughes, man. Big reason why my son is where he is today, man. 14 days. It's the 17th. My son leaves on the.
Are you gonna cry when he leaves the house? Be honest.
Yeah.
You're gonna cry. That's what's up, man. That's what's up, brother. I'm getting, a little emotional thinking about it. The fact that I know
myself a little moist.
Straight up, man.
Another story, like we didn't put it out there. Another story. I might send y'all this picture too. We had a party Wednesday night. My son played basketball and he played football growing up and other sports, but that was his main sports. Off of his basketball team, we had 10 kids off of one basketball team, and I'm talking about like we play second grade through seventh grade. Kindergarten through seventh grade, but let's say third grade through seventh is the bulk of them. 10 kids off of that basketball team are going on to play D1. We had a little party.
Up, man.
All these kids that are playing D1. 5 football players, 3 basketball players, a soccer player, and a rugby player.
That's what's up. Congratulations, man. That's big time. And them going to play Division I, saving their parents the money, getting the education. And we're going to get into that towards the end of the show. Right? That's big time. So we wanted to start the show there. We'll come back to it, but man, just wanted to celebrate you and your son and your family and the journey. And congratulations, brother. We gotta hop in now. The episode is called PrimeTime. In our community, whatever community that might be, in our community, when you wear the name PrimeTime, you doing it, baby. Look good, feel good, play good, right? You showing up, you showing out. When you hear PrimeTime, anybody that's giving that nickname, it's on and popping, baby. When you know that you got the PrimeTime game, when they give you that game, that's because they're expecting it to be quite the performance. So today's show called PrimeTime, right? We started off talking about with a wedge is what little kids used to call them. The Big Flow Show 1 or 2, you decide which number he is. But he is now proving that he's ready for PrimeTime, ready for the big show. There was somebody this week that proved that they are not ready for the big show. And for those of you who know that PrimeTime, that nickname, that moniker was worn by none other than Deion Sanders, and the story that is associated with Deion Sanders this week. And for those of you who know that, stay tuned. We're going to come to that story. But we got to get to another story or two before that. Because there was someone who, by way of an owner, proved that he was not ready for PrimeTime. When it came to the NFL, my coach, he was my receiver coach at the University of Notre Dame. He was the odds favorite for a lot of colleges who had vacancies, and they were screaming, "We want Urban." But Shaka Khan, that's not his name. Shaka Khan, the owner of the...
Sound better to say Shaka Khan.
It does say Shaka Khan. The owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars said thanks, but no thanks. They parted ways with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer in 13 games was 2-11. But that was the least of the issues there. The latest story came out from a kicker named Josh Lambo, which is an amazing kicker name, Josh Lambo. But Josh Lambo talked about how Urban Meyer kicked him. We know Urban Meyer brought in Chris Doyle, or tried to hire Chris Doyle, a notorious racist that was at University of Iowa, who had done a lot of things, was abusive, and he hired him. We know he then brought in Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow had been in the broadcast booth very long, just as long as I've been in the broadcast booth, several years. And somehow, some way, he got signed to play tight end for the NFL for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Urban Meyer this week was reported, it had been reported or rumored that he was bullying and speaking down to staff and talking to coaches in a very belittling way. Urban Meyer in 13 weeks was
tricked off the church's money.
Tricked off the church's money, but he was a quintessential example of what not to do as an NFL coach. We know Urban Meyer got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Pause. With the pictures that had surfaced on social media with a particular young lady and his particular finger that was in a particular cavity of the particular young lady. So in 13 weeks,
yeah, you definitely went a little. You super graphic with that. Go ahead.
Well, man, hey man, I didn't do it. I was
outside the clothes. It was out
using scientific terms and everything.
Yeah, the cavity. It was a particular cavity of the body. So here we are. Did Urban Meyer prove that he's not ready for prime time? Let's just analyze those 13 weeks plus, because 13 weeks of the season. Trevor Lawrence has not seemed to develop very much. I thought they were going to let him end the season, because if they could have got 2 more wins out of it, I think net from wins and losses standpoint, you say we're moving in the right direction. Urban Meyer failed right in front of us when it came to the NFL. He's not the first nor the last. A lot of college coaches, including Nick Saban, proved that the NFL just ain't for me. So it's nothing really to be embarrassed about if you don't make it at that level. But that's setting aside all the things that I just mentioned, right? The Chris Doyle, the Tim Tebow, the Josh Lambo story, the staff saying that this guy's a bully, the pictures of him with a particular young lady. Let's dive in, y'all. What does this say about Urban Meyer? Does it hurt his legacy overall, or is this just a blip in the radar?
No, it's crushed. I think that he's done. I think the situation is he shows you he's a win-at-all-cost guy, right? So he runs dirty programs, doesn't care, scandal everywhere he goes.
Allegedly. Come on, at least put allegedly.
No, I mean, like, he just, his last coach he had was at Ohio State. That assistant coach was tricking off and doing all kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
He got players that's killing people. He just does whatever. He doesn't care. He's always run I'll say starting in Florida. I don't know what happened to Utah, but you never know.
I think it was 31 arrests at Florida, and I might be off, but if I'm off, I'm barely off. I'm rounding up or down.
Right?
Barely.
Yeah, you in the same courtroom. Let's say that. So at the end of the day, you see what I did there? But they he just runs a terrible program with whatever. So he's a win-at-all-cost guy. It only works when you win, though, because everything else is trash. Then he gets so really it always was arm's length where he could play stupid. I didn't know. Now he's the problem. Like, you're the guy. Like, all the stuff that people.
Would you have sent your son to him?
No.
He's the head coach. You know he's going to win. He's at an institution. Let's say he's the coach at Northwestern. He's the coach at Northwestern. Would you have said, yeah, would you sign off on that? Yeah, go ahead, go play for Urban Meyer.
I don't think he's at a Northwestern because of who he is, but that's a tough one because I think, Northwestern may outweigh him. I don't know that he runs. I don't think Northwestern's going to allow him to run a dirty program. So you got to say shame on the schools. And I think finally he got to some place that says we're not going to shame on me. So Florida didn't give a damn. So that's the reason why he ran a bad program. I think we had a conversation before. Florida doesn't even have their kids. They don't even go to Florida. They go to a junior college down the street. So they could care less about what happens, what's going on. They just want wins and losses. Then no losses. They just want wins. Sorry. Then you go to Ohio State. Could care less. Notoriously, they had the lowest graduation rate in the Big Ten forever. They never really cared. They always have some sort of – it was Tressel before him. You figured they would learn their lesson and do whatever. Now, I argue, and a lot of argue some of the stuff is petty, but at the end of the day, he's still rules-breaking and doesn't really care. Finally, he went somewhere that cared, and they got rid of him. That's all.
And I think that Urban Meyer is stuck in 1997.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I hear Josh Lambo talk about him kicking his foot and saying, make the effing kicks, I'm like, he used to do that to us all the time. And in 2021, with the power of social media, the power of people videotaping and recording things, the power of people to go viral quickly with a story that has Urban Meyer in the midst of it, I just think he was behind the times. He didn't appreciate just how quick the information get from, kicking the kicker on the practice field to front page of NPR. I'll go to you, ETP. What do you think this says? Does this hurt his overall legacy? Because as of a few weeks ago, when Notre Dame was in search of a coach, when Brian Kelly just up and left, there were still Notre Dame fans that were saying Urban Meyer, Urban Meyer, Urban Meyer. Fast forward just 3 short weeks later, and I don't think you'll find a Notre Dame fan on the face of the planet that would call for Urban Meyer to be even considered. So what does this do to his overall legacy? Because I'm going to tell you this, before this, and I'm not certain that this undermines it. Before this, Urban Meyer goes down as one of the greatest college coaches ever.
He still is.
Yeah. So I think he was out of his depth, right? Like all of the things that he was doing and got caught, put publicly out there for while he was a pro coach. This is all stuff that he's bulletproof in the college ranks. His legacy is as a college coach. He'll take a year off, and if he decides he wants to go back to the college ranks, I think he's fine. Especially if he turns around a program or takes a winning program and takes them even further. You just can't do that in the pros, right? You got professional athletes, adults who are making more money than you, not infinitely less money than you, and he can take liberties that you can't take liberties at the pro level that you can take with players in the college ranks. But at the end of the day, the way college fans, boosters, etc. are, you bring Urban Meyer back, they'll gladly take him. He didn't do anything criminally convictable. So I think he still has a shot at if he decides he wants to go back to the college ranks, he'll be totally fine, and this will just be a blip on the radar. But if he thinks he's gonna, find another coaching job at the pro level, he's finished.
No, I think he's done there, and he probably would not even put his name in the hat. I love this comment. What's up, Chufu Jordan? My man Sheldon Jordan says Woody Hayes punched an opposing player on national television, and he's still revered. I use that comment to get to this question, and it's yes or no, because there is a certain level of white privilege. We talk about the University of Florida thing and 31 arrests. We talk about Ohio State and all the things that went on under Urban Meyer's watch when it comes to Ohio State. Yet and still, Urban Meyer was one of the most popular names with any coaching vacancy that came about. So there is this kind of white privilege feeling for me, and I ask you this question, simple and plain. Will he coach again? Yes or no? I'll start with you. Big Flow Show. Does Urban Meyer get another shot? Yes or no?
As a head coach, it'll take a while. I mean, let's go back to Tressel. Tressel's coaching. We can't say where, but he's an assistant coach somewhere. He's doing something. He's going to provide. I don't know if Urban Meyer.
I think Tressel he was working in the front office at Ohio State for a while. I don't know what he's doing now.
Well, no, he had left. I think he went NFL. He went somewhere, but he was back in business. Urban Meyer has a value to add. I don't know that he's the face of your program unless it's a second tier program. So, is Oregon? Did they have a coach yet?
Oregon hired the D coordinator from Georgia. Yeah.
Oh, they did. My bad. Yeah. So I wasn't sure. My question back to you guys is going to be do you think one of these big jobs will even dare to bring him in? I think he could go get something like a second tier school, that might just be hey, I don't care if we can get Urban Meyer. Well, holy hell, let's go. You know what I mean? But other than that, he'll be a coordinator somewhere if he wants to. I do think he can get back in the booth.
Oh, he'll get back in the booth. And I don't think that's white privilege at all. I think when it comes to the booth, if you're entertaining enough, right? Yeah, Warren Sapp, Michael Irvin,
you're not leading anybody. You don't care.
Yeah, you're not leading anybody. Just your job is to entertain folks. But I'll say this, man. When it comes to Urban Meyer, let me ask you first, ETP, before I make my statement. Do you think Urban Meyer gets another opportunity? Yes or no?
If he wants it. If he wants to coach again, he'll be a head coach at a major school in the NCAA. If he wants to come back, he'll take the rest of the year. He might, do some analysis, get on TV, and then in the next cycle, he'll be ready for early signing.
Early sign period. All right. If Urban Meyer does go and lead another Power 5 team to a national championship, he's the only coach that would have ever done that. Take 3 different teams to a national championship. Nick Saban's not going anywhere else. Nick Saban will die at the University of Alabama. This is why I thought Urban Meyer, when he took the job at Jacksonville, I was a bit confused. Like, why mess up what could be a legacy that no one else has ever done and go to the NFL ranks? When you've had example after example after example after example of great college coaches trying to get up to the NFL ranks, and it just doesn't work out because players get paid. They ain't trying to hear all that, what you're saying. The same coaching technique, the strategies, the psychological warfare that college coaches put you through on the collegiate level, those same strategies don't work at the NFL because, man, I'm a grown man. I'm getting paid. I got a family. You better get on out of here with that. And the kicker being all upset that Urban Meyer kicked him, sound like playfully, but a little obnoxiously, and said, make your effing kicks. Like on the college level, that's fine. Like, yeah, hey, kicker, he wants you to make your kicks. I just think that we talked about the softness of America. While all of Urban Meyer's techniques, I don't think, can pass in a corporate setting, because that's what the NFL is. It's a corporate setting. I think we just soft, man. So he needs to go back to college where things are a lot more acceptable.
Oppressive, you mean?
Oppressive, maybe, but in a good way. I think that some of those things, and not to defend what he did in terms of the programs being clean or not, but I think some of the psychological warfare that he took me through as a receiver who got to hear his tongue lashings over and over again, the profanity, the cursing me out and making me think that, man, I made you. I can take this away from you. Like certain things he would say to us was like, yo, that's darn right wrong. It prepared me in a weird way for life and for the challenges and for being in a corporate law firm and being on Wall Street, where, to be honest, while people say the right things and they know how to keep it such that it's politically correct, the end result is just as cutthroat. Let's not play around. Either you're producing or you're not when it comes to all of our jobs. And I think that what Urban Meyer was able to do for me, and I'll say this just because I do think that he did a lot for me as a man, as a person, and prepare me as a professional. Some of it I didn't like at the time, but it was like that cough syrup, that nasty medicine. It helped me long term. I'll say that, and I think he will get another coaching job, but we shall see. For now, he proved that he's not ready for primetime because Shad Khan said, bruh, you got to be out. They still got to pay him the money unless they can come up with some reason that it's for cause. I don't know that there's a for cause explanation for his termination.
They kick somebody. That's what they're gonna turn that up.
Yeah, but even the guy was like, it was 5 out of 10, and yeah. And that guy's unemployed. There's no.
They don't want to pay him, so they're gonna try to do something.
Yeah, nobody that got fired is going to be happy. The NFL last night in Thursday Night Football produced what I think is an instant classic. For those of you who were able to stay up and watch it and weren't out partying like my man Big Flo show. Big Flo got a real social calendar now, y'all. You know, sun, sign, and stuff. They've been swung it hard, baby. He living it up.
Spending that college savings.
I came home with money. We gambled a little bit. I came home with money.
Right, that's what happens when you get that full scholarship, baby.
It's been a good
week. Got money. But those of us who watched it, it was an instant classic. It was the Kansas City Chiefs against the LA Chargers, and they were fighting for the lead when it came to the AFC West. And SoFi Stadium, a whole bunch of celebrities on hand to watch in LA. Two of the premier quarterbacks in the NFL. It was a great environment, right? And it turned out to be an overtime thriller. First, we got to say for Donald Parham Jr., the tight end that went down with a concussion, our thoughts and prayers are with you. It's a dangerous game. We hate seeing anyone taken off in that fashion. It sounds like he's in stable condition, so our prayers remain with you. Then we got to get to the football because the Chargers went for every single fourth down, 2 out of 5. They converted 2 out of 5, but the ones that they did not convert were big. I'm talking about huge. The Chiefs were only in the game because of these turnover on down moments where the Chargers went for it on fourth down. I watched a game at my local watering hole, and it was a Chargers fan next to me who was particularly obnoxious. And I'm obnoxious too when I'm watching my Browns. The Browns are playing the Chargers, and every time they went for it on fourth down, I'm like, why would they go for it on fourth right there? It's a field, sort of a field position type game, punt the ball. And this obnoxious fan would look at me like, it's the analytics. And I've been waiting on the analytics to catch up. The analytics caught up with the Chargers last night. They lost in overtime thriller, which I think is going to go a long way to figure out what the playoff picture looks like. The Chiefs now on a 7-game winning streak. Great game to open up this very pivotal, important playoff stretch week of NFL football. What a way to open it up. I don't know if you guys had a feeling one way or another in the overtime game. Does analytics have a place, or are we getting to the point where we realize that analytics doesn't make sense? It makes sense on paper, but in the game, when it has influence on whether or not the team has momentum or whether or not you take those points, analytics, I think, defeated the Chargers last night. What say you?
I mean, analytics are a tool, right? And if it's telling you to go for fourth down 5 times, it's how you use the whole purpose. If everything was going to be able to be determined by analytics, sports wouldn't be as fun to watch. We'd just be looking at spreadsheets all day. So, there's a place for it. That's what it is. It's analysis. But at the end of the day, you got to make a decision, based on the current scenarios and, your probabilities and how you believe, everybody's going to perform. So I don't think I don't like the idea that people are like analytics are, the holy grail. And I don't like the other side where they say throw analytics out the window, because analytics has been in sports since sports statistics have been calculated, right? We know people's free throw percentages. We know what they're shooting. We know what batting averages. They're on the back of baseball cards. Analytics is going nowhere. I don't like that when people make bad decisions, they automatically throw analytics under the bus like it wasn't always part of the calculation and strategic decisions since the beginning of sports.
I watched the evolution of the easy pass, if you will, wherever sun pass if you're in Florida, I don't know what they call it in Illinois, I pass. But I kept saying that eventually the people that were in that toll booth were going to become obsolete. And it's happened. Now they'll just mail you what you owe. It's even if you don't have a pass, right? The idea of the person, an entire category of jobs is gone. And I say that here to say it's almost like you don't need a coach. If the analytics going to tell you what to do, you almost don't need a coach. I just don't get it, man. I don't know, man. What do you say, Big Flow Show, before we move on? Great game last night, but the analytics had a very distinct fingerprint on that game last night. Every opportunity they had to go for it on fourth down, they went. And it just didn't make sense to me.
I think you got to stick to them, man. I mean, it's going to be wrong sometimes. So if you look at blackjack, if you have a 16, you're supposed to hit. The dealer's showing a 10. Sometimes you're going to pull a 10. Maybe you're going to pull 10 7 or 8 times. But it's still the right move the next time to hit the 16 because he's showing a 10, and you got to assume he's got another 10. So my point is you can't look at analytics and say that was wrong to do because it didn't work. You can't go results. Statistically speaking, if they didn't make it on fourth down, and unfortunately I didn't get to pay close attention to the game like that to notice it, but
he was too busy kicking it. We know.
I was swinging it. I watched the game a little bit, but not enough to see what was going on with that. But let's say they went for it on fourth down. How many times yesterday?
5. The Chargers went for it 5 times, and they passed up 3 points. It went into overtime like that. Those points, you can never get them back. So right? They went for it 5 times and passed up at least 2 field goals. Field goal attempt.
Did they ever get it when they went for it?
They got it 2 out of 5 times. 40%.
That's what the stats say. So that maybe I don't know what stat says you're supposed to do, but next game they're probably gonna get it. If they got 5 times, they'll get it 4 out of 5. I mean, statistics don't really lie sometimes. You go on streaks, but if you take a large enough pool, it works out. I think if you're gonna be a stat guy, if you're gonna be an analytics guy, whatever you want to go, you gotta commit to it. I think you mess the numbers up when that dude next to you that don't want to hit his 16 and you got your 18, 19 showing. He took the dealer. He didn't take the card, and the dealer get 21. Everybody want to slap him, right? Everybody's mad.
I guess I wanted to slap. I was just mad that I didn't get to watch the game next to that same Chargers fan that was all obnoxious. Like, it's the analytics. It's the analytics. I hope you, wherever you are, sir, if by chance you're listening to this show at any point, I hope you threw up last night. I'm talking about a visceral vomit watching your team listen to the analytics. And in the meantime, now they're 2 games behind. They had an opportunity. They were ahead. They had an opportunity to take over the AFC West. They had an opportunity to really be in great position going into the playoffs. And now I got 2 words for you, bro. Wild card. Because you're not going to win the division. The Chiefs are on a 7-game winning streak. And now they seem to be cruising their way to yet another division title. Great game last night. Great games coming up this week. But this week we're seeing, while the analytics, right, in prime time for our prime time show, while the analytics were on full display in prime time, this week there's a particular thing that's in prime time, and it's called COVID. COVID-19 has had its impact on everything. And I go to a recent article, NPR, that talks about what COVID has done just in the last few days. And it starts off, the next few Calgary games are on hold after 27 players and staff were sidelined due to COVID exposure. NHL. The Brooklyn Nets had only 8 players available for Tuesday night's game after nearly half the team had to enter the league's COVID protocols, 2 of them just an hour before tip-off. NBA. And in the past 3 days, nearly 100 NFL players and some staff have tested positive, including both the starting quarterback and the head coach of my Cleveland Browns.
Bulls, too.
Make no mistake, COVID-19 is once again surging in America's pro sports leagues. COVID-19 is on full display. Now, for those of you, Scott Bibb, we appreciate you watching. It'll be a great opportunity to say to all of you, please like, please comment, please share. Tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know, and please subscribe on both the YouTube channel and in whatever podcast space you like to listen to your podcast. Subscribe, y'all, and pass on the word about the Ball Hog Sports Talk. But for Scott Bibb, who's in our live audience, who had the audacity, the unlitigated gall to talk about the doo-doo Browns, to talk about my Cleveland Browns, who are in position to take over the division this week as we go and we play the Las Vegas Raiders at home. But because of COVID-19's stronghold on sports this week, we are going to go play the Las Vegas Raiders at home, thankfully, with the dog pound of support. Without our head coach, Kevin Stefanski, again, will not be coaching. Last year in the playoffs against the Steelers, same thing happened. He won't be on the sideline coaching. Our starting quarterback, Baker Mayfield, will not be on the center because of COVID-19. Our backup quarterback, Case Keenum, will not be on the center because of COVID-19. In comes to save our season, baby, Nick Mullins, who was with San Francisco. It was on our practice squad, got activated last Saturday. He will now be starting this Saturday in order to preserve and save our playoff chances for the Cleveland Browns. And I know you don't believe this because y'all don't believe fat meat greasy. I feel good about it, baby. Nick Mullins is about to lead the dog pound in front of the dog pound to another victory on our way to securing what might be an AFC North title. You heard it here first. Let's go, Nick. What's his name? Nick Mullins. Come on, Nick Mullins. Because at this time of year, you win with a thing called defense. Defense. But it's amazing to see COVID-19, guys, and how it is now NHL, NBA, NFL. There's been a lot of college games that have been postponed. It's all over the place, and I don't know where we go from here, because to say that it's fair in playoff time to have our third quarterback, who was just activated from the practice squad, take center as a starter, it seems unfair, right? There's a COVID-19 advantage by some teams, and the protocols seem to be changing in each one of these leagues. What do you guys think about the protocols? Are they failing us? Should we do more with these new variants? Is there just are we just rolling the dice, to stick with some of the gambling analogy that you had there, Big Flow Show? What are we doing here, y'all? It seems like it's the blind leading the blind, and unfortunately, there are going to be some teams. Yeah, I'm personal on this one. The Cleveland Browns. They're going to be some teams that are disadvantaged by this. What do you guys think?
I'm assuming a lot of these guys have been vaccinated, right? They're getting it because, like, the Bulls, I think had like 9 or 10 people. I think it's only like 12 on the team, right? So I'm assuming that they're vaccinated or getting it. I haven't heard of anybody being real sick. I think we might be going to that point in this country where people are just like, it's getting out of control, and you can only do so many protocols. People are getting it anyway. Supposedly, if you're vaccinated, you're not going to get really sick. I just got my booster yesterday. Hopefully
You look
that
like you
protects
just got a
me.
booster yesterday, man.
I don't know why
Whatever
we had
that
to say
means.
stuff like that. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I look healthy. I look like I will survive. Is that what it looks like?
Yeah, that's
But anyway,
what I meant.
I think at the end of the day, I mean, maybe it's a good thing, man. Maybe just ravage everybody. If you're boosted and or vaccinated, and it's just going to be a cold, nobody really cries about a cold. If it's not going to kill you, maybe that's the next thing, man. This thing is going so crazy. It's so contagious. Just let it run through everybody and just be done. I don't know what else they can do except cancel the season again. I mean, people are getting it. You know that they're trying to do stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think the protocols are gone. I just think it's super contagious now. And now people are getting it with the vaccine, and they're just not getting as sick. So I don't know. I don't know what else there is to do.
And Vegas is always on edge because, like, the final line of a game when it comes to betting odds is also depending on COVID, right? Like, there's no way when the line opened at the beginning of the week, you thought Nick Mullins would be the starter. I felt good about it.
Pretty soon they're going to start taking bets on whether or not he's going to get COVID.
Yeah, it's going to be these side bets, right?
Yeah,
the derivative bet is going to be whether or not such and such will catch COVID. ETP, what do you think, man? I never thought that we would have really an entire segment on SportsCenter devoted to COVID, right? It's like, all right, yeah, this game is brought to you by COVID because so many players are sidelined, right? That the players that are out there are indeed they're survivors, if you will. They were in the same meeting rooms, they were in the same practice facilities, but somehow, some way, they were able to survive it. And 100 NFL players for the last 2 days.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's crazy, man. I mean, it's the hard part. It's there's so many things that are wild about this. One is you had players, especially from the NFL, that opted out last season when in reality last season was actually much safer than this season, ironically, at this point. And so, the outcome of all sports, the fact that it's all going to be affected by, who was in protocols, who could play, who couldn't, it's unfortunate. I try to see something positive. One of the positive things is, there's guys that haven't been able to play or haven't seen the field or gotten on the court, that with all of these protocols, maybe people that needed to get a little bit more looks, they get an opportunity to show that they can perform, and they get an opportunity to renew a contract or get picked up by another team just because they have to shuffle around the lineup so much. But it's tough to watch as a sports fan, because even personally last season I had a hard time watching it just because it was all okay. Well, who's going to play this week, and what's who's going to be in the lineup, and it was just really hard to follow. And I'm hoping we don't go down that path, but there's not really much. I mean, we're still filling the stadiums. There's not, there's not a whole lot of precaution being taken, and we're seeing that the vaccine, while it's keeping people from having severe reactions as far as what they're potentially saying, but it's not preventing transmission. And so we're going to be dealing with this at a mass scale, and we're getting into the winter. So I don't know. I don't know what you do.
And Kwanzaa, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrating, you're gonna be breathing on folks.
Kwanzaa get you.
You know what I'm saying? Kwanzaa straight up get you. You're gonna Kwanzaa, you gotta share the one of the nights you share the cup. I think each night you share the cup. But like, I'm gonna say this because thank you, research. Research tells us that Cleveland opened up.
Research tells you that we do share the cup.
We share the cup. Give me some Kwanzaa research.
Kwanzaa cup.
I'm embarrassed not to know that. You share the cup every night. But we opened up 6.5 point favorite. Right now, because of the COVID situation, we are now a 1.5. We're underdog. This will be the first time all season the Browns have not been favored at the dog pound. So listen up, Nick. Let me make sure I got his name right. Nick Mullins. Put me in a solo. Put me in a solo.
Get them two other dudes.
ETP, put me in a solo. Listen up, Nick Mullins. who will be leading the Cleveland Browns into this week's war, this week's fight. I know you just got activated last Saturday from the practice squad. I know you've had a tumultuous career and you bounced around a little bit thus far. I know no one believes in you. Vegas has now got that's a 8-point shift because you're the starter. But we gonna dig deep, man. We gonna go in here in front of the dog pound, in front of the lake, and we gonna go make plays, Nick Mullins. You've been waiting for this opportunity. And the flip side of the COVID story is that big-time players make big-time plays and big-time moments. And Nick Mullins, although I just learned your name this week, that's you. Lead us to victory, baby. Dog pound, root. There we go, baby. I feel like if Nick Mullins watched this, man, he's inspired and he's going to go win that game for us, man. But how dare we not talk about the impact of COVID? It's just crazy. NBA, same thing, man, with the you know what, man? Y'all some haters, man. Can I have my moment? Can Nick Mullins and I have a moment? You know what I'm saying? Can Nick Mullins and I have a moment? But the Brooklyn Nets, I watched that because that was the same night Harden didn't play. Kevin Durant wasn't supposed to play. He had to play on what was a sore ankle, and he would slap off. They only had 8 players that could play in that game. You talked about the Bulls, the Bears, all of these teams, right, impacted by COVID-19. It's been crazy. The NBA, though, the story of the NBA has got nothing to do with COVID-19. When it comes to prime time, when it comes to the NBA, there was a moment this week that was absolute prime time. There was a man by the name of Steph Curry who has captured the hearts and minds of almost all NBA fans. The young generation, Generation Z, is going to put Steph Curry on a dollar bill. He got his own money, y'all. These young kids love Steph Curry. My own son included. I mean, Steph Curry can do no wrong. Steph Curry.
The 3-cent coin.
Yeah.
3-cent coin. Straight up. Hey, you might be on something. That's an NIL deal.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, Steph Curry delivered. We have been waiting on him to break the record, and he waits in Steph Curry fashion. This man got to be the luckiest man in the world, bro. He got it all. Look, he still looks about 19 years old. Barely got, a single wrinkle in his face. Married to a beautiful woman. The entire world is on his every word. And he waits to prime time, a prime time game in Madison Square Garden. Every celebrity that could get a ticket. I wanted to get a ticket for my son,
Daddy
man.
brought
My
3
money.
dates.
Yeah. The dad came with 3 dates. Don't mess up the story for that. Man.
That's the story. He brought 3 dates. So
those are 3 friends, man. Those were friends.
It's 3-point contest.
He's a divorcee. He's allowed to come to the game with whomever he wants.
Everything comes in threes with the Curry.
Dale Curry showed up and showed out, right? But Steph Curry got to the magical number of 2,974. He broke Ray Allen's record. Reggie Miller happened to be calling the game, and that was no coincidence. The NBA did what it needed to do to capture that primetime moment, the spotlight of Madison Square Garden, the spotlight, the opportunity of him breaking this record. And I say that to celebrate that primetime moment, to ask, what is his real impact on the game? Because Reggie Miller talked about it. When Reggie Miller broke his record, the NBA, the teams average about 5 threes per game. It's up to about 35 threes per game now. And on the night of celebration, on the night of accomplishment between the Knicks and the Warriors, there were 82, counted, 82 three-pointers shot in that game. And it all really, you look right back at Steph Curry. He broke Ray Allen's record with only about 60% of the games played. He sat out most of last season. When was he hurt? That was last season?
Yeah.
A large, significant portion of last season, although it was a shortened season, he sat out a lot of that season. Yet he still broke this record that a lot of people thought would never be broken. What is his impact on the game? And is that is it good, bad, and different? But they also talk about who would break his record. And Reggie Miller was like, it's got to be somebody that's playing AAU right now. So nobody in the NBA can break this record because it's going to continue. He shoots at a clip that is just astronomical. He shoots the rock. He shoots the 3-pointers. What is his impact on the game when you look at how many 3-pointers are shot per game And when we look back on it, you know, from an AAU standpoint, I've talked about it on this platform before. I hate it. You know, a 10-year-old kid takes one dribble past half court and feels like that's a good shot. That's not a good shot for you. But what is his impact on NBA? And is that the story kind of burying the lead? We celebrated the three-point accomplishment, 2,974. Shout out to him to have all three snipers, marksmen on hand. Ray Allen to pass the torch. Reggie Miller, who passed the torch to Ray Allen, to have them all three of them on hand was a celebratory moment. But let's talk about legacy and his impact on the game with all these three-pointers.
Yeah. Legacy is funny, right? It'll be interesting. I have the question of, has there been somebody that was undisputed, the greatest at their position or at their skill or at their sport, while they still had probably, 40%, 35% more left of their career to go? Like, other than like a Tiger Woods, but he was still chasing the number of championships. It's just crazy that he has cemented this, and he's got a ton more basketball to play. And I think the other part that's crazy is he basically created an atmosphere and a style of play in the NBA to create opportunities for the next player to come and break his record, because he was shooting 2 to 3 3-pointers a game when he entered the league. Now he's averaging, career average is almost 9. In the later years, it's been, over 10, 12, 13 a game. So now you're going to have guys coming into the league that are just shooting.
Green light.
They got a new thing, 3-and-D. Guys just shoot the three and play defense. That's a thing now. But I think he's changed the game more than anybody really in my lifetime. I mean, you want to say kind of
for better or for worse? Would you say for better or for worse?
That's a very strong. He's the reason why the 7-footer out there is that they can't get up and down the court and shoot is no longer playing. He took money out of people's pocket. Now everyone has to be able to shoot the three, or you're not. It's not. If you don't have a 3-point percentage that you can put out there, it's the reason why Ben Simmons is not playing. Is he better for worse? I don't know, man. It's tough.
I think he is single-handedly moved. We're going to find offensive tackles that are going to be taller. The 6'10", big-bodied power forward / center. Right. He has to now move to football. We're going to find 6'10" right tackles now. Because if you can't shoot it, ain't no spot for you.
You got to block somebody.
Right. But the amount of people that were pure shooters are now, valuable assets in ways that they weren't. Before, they were just a nice 6-man, even some of the, greatest shooters, the Kyle Korvers, the Steve Kerrs, the JJ Redicks, they weren't the focal point of any offense ever. And they might not have even started most of their career. So he's kind of, I don't know that he's taking money. I mean, he's definitely taking money out of some people's pockets, but then creating opportunities for others.
For other people.
Somebody coming up.
Very fair.
Yeah. So, all right, so if he changed the game more than anybody, is there not an argument that he might be the greatest player of all time?
It's too early. Let's wait till he's at least getting close to.
I mean, if you're already saying, 10 years in the league, he's affected or 12
definitely the
years.
greatest shooter of all time.
Yeah.
He can play some hoop too. I mean, he can go. Can't D nobody up though.
Is that factor not being able to D someone up? Because yes, they have a category 3 and D, but they also have a category just score. There's a lot of people that just, their job is to score, not to defend. And since today's episode is called PrimeTime already said it, right? My job is to cover people. I'm not coming up for run support. That's a defensive end job. You stop him from getting outside. Right? So Steph Curry, same thing. You don't put him on the court to defend nobody.
Yeah.
That's why you got help defense, right? And I just don't know, man. I love Steph Curry by way of my son, because I get to see how happy he is when Steph Curry is making plays. Like, there were millions of kids that when he hit that shot, like, they were really happy, man. Kids really love Steph Curry. I don't.
How do you not like Steph Curry though?
All of Madison Square Garden acted like they were Warriors fans when he hit that shot. Like, there's nobody that's not rooting. That's the crazy thing for him as a superstar. There's like very little hate.
Yeah,
he is
everyone
able,
likes Steph Curry.
like everybody wants.
What do you mean? How do you not like Steph Curry? I mean, there's a lot of athletes that I don't like just because that's what sports is.
Well,
you got to decide the villain and the hero.
Steph Curry's a nice guy, smiley guy. He's happy. He doesn't yell at people. He don't have no drama on the side. He's happy. Steph Curry, like him.
I know.
He had a little bit of a run where he was like throwing his mouthpiece and all that stuff.
That's the worst he's ever done. Just throwing his mouthpiece.
Yeah,
or take the shot and then look away. That's the only villain that he has.
Even then, he did it.
Everybody loves that.
He did that. He smiled. It was all in fun. He doesn't get all in your face.
I was attached to the '80s basketball where I dislike you because I dislike you, not because you all of those things. You're nice, handsome. You're law-abiding. You like all of those things are cool. But man, I just don't like you. We don't do that no more, huh? Like the whole trading jerseys after games and everybody's buddy, elbow to elbow. Like, nah, dog, I don't like you. They're like that's I thought was inherent in sports, but it doesn't happen for him.
Some people don't like his wife, but they like him,
which is crazy, right? Which is crazy. All right, we got to get to the topic of all topics. Today's episode is called Prime Time. For all of the reasons that we have previously discussed, all the aforementioned topics were indeed considered prime time. And sure enough, Steph Curry is Mr. Prime Time at Madison Square Garden. But let's not play around with this. Today's episode is called Prime Time because of a man who wore number 21. Today's episode is called Prime Time because there was a man, a head coach for an HBCU that pulled off the unthinkable, and he told you he was going to do it. He called the shot. Several times he said it, that he could compete with the Power 5 schools when it comes to recruiting. Deion Primetime Sanders, the head coach of the Jackson State University, I believe, Tigers, right?
Tigers.
Pulled off a coup like nobody else. The number one high school football recruit in all the land, a 5-star recruit. There's only like 35 total 5-star recruits. That is an accomplishment when you get 5-star. I think one of the other publications had him at number 2. So number 1 or number 2, whatever you want to say. Mr. Travis Hunter, a cornerback who everyone has dubbed is going to be a first-round draft pick, decided to take his talents to Jackson State. And primetime, Deion himself is running a victory lap. Well, he can't run much now because he got fuzzy bad foot. But you know what I'm saying? He's in the midst of a celebratory lap because primetime pulled off the unthinkable. On this show, on the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, we talk ad nauseum when it comes to PWIs versus HBCUs and the offering that they present to some of the top athletes. We've talked about some of the accomplishments that whether it be a 3-star, 4-star, people that had predominantly white institutions, Power 5 offers that chose to go to a HBCU. A lot of them had circumstances surrounding them, like the Hersey Miller, right? You're a masterpiece, son. You don't necessarily care about the offering because you good, right? Same thing with some other marquee names. But here's he's only a household name because of his decision on Wednesday. Travis Hunter doesn't have those circumstances. Travis Hunter had committed to Florida State sometime last year. Travis Hunter could have gone just about anywhere because of his prowess on the field. He had the 5-star designation, Power 5 offerings out the wazoo, an NFL designation, and he chose Jackson State. Primetime pulled off when no one thought that anyone that's coaching an HBCU could. And my question is this the beginning of the new frontier? Is this move on Wednesday the beginning of what is the new frontier when it comes to PWIs versus HBCUs and the top athletes Travis Hunter might be a footnote in time when we talk about HBCUs versus PWIs, top talent. What say you guys?
No. I think it was PrimeTime had a kid do a very matinee-ish decision. I know there's some NIL money supposedly involved. There has to be some NIL money involved.
From Barstool Sports, right? Although PrimeTime has denied that is the factor that led Travis.
He wants
Hunter.
all that. He's prime. He wants all that smoke. He wants to know why. He's the reason why. I look at it like this: the kid's a 5-star. He must be thinking NFL or bust. Doesn't matter where he goes. That's got to go. But no offense to any Jackson State grads out there, but Florida State.
Normally, when you start with that, you're about to offend somebody. But go ahead.
I just think Florida State's a better school. I think he's in a better situation, better resources. I don't personally think, they say you pick the school, not the coach. I would be surprised if Deion Sanders is there in 4 years or 3 years or however long this kid's going to be there. He's going to go out. He's going to jump. Now, granted, they were just rumors, but his name was thrown around in a lot of different coaching potential jobs where he might just bounce. And I guess in the portal, kid could just bounce too, but it's not really as much. I mean, get your education where you feel like you get your education. I think if you're going to be a successful person, you can be successful from anywhere. I'm not going to say you can't. And Florida State's is not Princeton. You know what I mean? It's a good school, but it's not Princeton. But I just, from a resource standpoint, just like Percy, Master P's son, said, I got to get out of here because of the medical, like real weird reasons. You've never heard of anyone transferring because the training staff isn't good. I think he's going to get there and be like, what the hell did I sign up for? This is not Power 5. It's not Group of 5. It's not FCS. It's Jackson State.
Yeah, I look. So all right. One last question. Sorry, ETP, but I gotta ask you because you just went through the process as a father. You just helped your son in some shape, form, or fashion, I imagine, in making his decision. While ultimately it was his. You got to see, right, the communication. You got to see the treatment. You got to see the facilities. You got to go and speak to the academic advisors on these respective campuses. Right. And this young man, Travis Hunter, he's a flip. Deion flipped him from his alma mater. He's gotten a lot of heat for that.
Oh, they gotta hate him over there.
They hate him over there at Florida State. That was their marquee signee. Well, they're supposed to be. As a dad who just went through the process, could you see yourself? No, why not? Advising your son in that situation, Jackson State, because you got to remember he's a cornerback, and Deion is at everyone's top 3 cornerbacks of all time in the NFL. So under his tutelage, you imagine he's going to get a lot of attention, hands-on attention. So let's say a receiver, Jerry Rice is coaching at an HBCU, and your son plays receiver. Jerry Rice takes particular interest in him. Could you have seen yourself get? No. Why not?
I mean, you pick the school, right? Now, there's the head coaches involved. Pat Fitzgerald's long head coach of Northwestern. We expect him to be there, and that definitely helped out. But, you're picking a university. You have an opportunity to go pick a good school, in a good situation. Jerry Rice would be a great person to coach my son. Don't get me wrong, but I think the coach of Northwestern, shout out to Dennis Springer. I think he's a very good coach, and I think he's going to do very well. I just couldn't risk. We all know how short football careers, any given moment, you can get a play that goes the wrong way and you're done forever. And there's not a Jackson State. There's no schools that's going to compare to a Northwestern. It's going to compare to some of the other options that he had. And then other than Howard, maybe, and I'm not super well versed in HBCUs, because I didn't go to one. I'm a first generation American, so a lot of my family didn't, we don't have history with them.
Where you from? Where first generation American? Go ahead, man. I gave you. I
Haiti. So Haiti.
My Haitian brother.
We didn't have a lot of people in my other generation that went to those schools historically, so we don't have a history. So I'll say that it doesn't move me the same way that it may move other people. But I commend the kid for saying he's trying to make change, he's trying to make a difference and do something to start a trend. I just think that he's got one chance to get through this thing and try to make it to do what he's got to go do, and the risks do not outweigh the reward. So for me, no chance.
ETP, prime time is in prime time when it comes to the topic of HBCUs being an option that at least mirrors. I won't say yeah, I mean, in this case, yeah, he flipped on signing day from Florida State, a perennial winning program that is in need of marquee players, 5-star talent. He flipped from Florida State to Jackson State. Is this the moment that we've been waiting on? Is this the example that we've been waiting on that says the time has come and these top athletes can take their talents to HBCUs like Jackson State over programs like Florida State? Is this it?
I think it's a good test, right? Like there's been Brandon Jennings came out of high school when they had for playing basketball, and he went and played overseas for a year in China.
I think he's in China, right?
To try to get money before he was able. So he went college and then to come back to the NBA. That didn't really pan out where he became, he went on the trajectory and was a star. So it didn't create that trend. This could, but I mean, I just look at it like the better brand right now. I don't care who you talk to, the better and more prominent brand right now, Jackson State versus Florida State, is Jackson State.
Whoa.
Jackson State has a stronger brand right now. It's in more people's mouths. It's being talked about. It's getting more publicity. PrimeTime is bringing more resources there. I would be concerned about him leaving if not for his kids being on the team. Like, I think there's a little bit more, commitment there. And considering that Shedeur, the quarterback, he won the Jerry Rice Award, first time an HBCU player won it in that whole FCS. So there's just a lot of momentum. So I know this is a very shocking, flip of the top athlete, but like you said, Deion's one of the greatest cornerbacks to ever play the game. Obviously, to be able to be part of that process as a cornerback coming out of high school, there's a lot of opportunity there. So I don't know enough about the amount of resources. I do know that they're packing out 55,000 every game in a home stadium, and they're being talked about. They're being talked about much more than what was Florida State even ranked at all?
They were trash. Florida State's been trash.
So I know that it's a bigger school. It's a perennial powerhouse, but as far as it being a path to the NFL, obviously he's got the spotlight of being a big name at what is now becoming a pretty strong brand. It gives him an opportunity to do some things, to make business moves in ways that might not have been available to him. But at the same time, I don't like the idea that people are automatically saying, oh, it was an NIL deal. You could get an NIL deal anywhere, right? Like, Barstool is not precluded from giving him an NIL deal just because he's going to play for Deion Sanders. Because if he went to Florida State and was like, look, I'm trying to decide, but I got this other deal over here. Is there anything we can do? You don't think there's boosters? You don't think there's sponsors that are already partnered with Florida State that would assign him to an equal deal, whatever that is, or better?
Yes and no, because as a 5-star cornerback and the number 1 recruit in the country, that's far more commonplace when you sign to Florida State. Even though Florida State has some down years, they've had some great athletes. You look at the NFL draft for the last several years, although they've had down years, they've had great athletes there. It's far more commonplace as a 5-star number 1 recruit to go to Florida State than it is as a 5-star number 1 recruit to go to Jackson State. So from an NIL deal standpoint and getting more bang for your buck and a splash related to a unique story, I think the NIL opportunities, ironically, are going to be better because he decided to go to Jackson State versus if he was just yet another number 1 recruit, 5-star athlete to go to Florida State. I think,
where's the deficiency then? I guess that's the question. Where's the deficiency?
Meaning, in terms of I'm saying the opposite of Ellis's point, Big Flow Show. I'm saying that, yeah, he could have got a deal either way, but the splash in making that decision makes him, I think, more coveted from an NIL standpoint because he chose the Jackson State route.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
So then what
there are
would
a
have
lot of
made
players that are NIL worthy at Florida State, but there's so many of them
Gotcha.
that
He's
it's
the
not
biggest
as
fish
prominent. It's not
in a
as
pond
unique.
that
Right.
seems small, but to Ellis's point, it's a small pond that everybody's visiting. It's that niche market that everybody wants to see. I mean, again, it's a nice
So
wave.
where's the deficit? Like where is what part of the decision is wrong then? I guess is the
I
question.
don't say it's wrong. I think for everybody, and again, it's kind of cliche, but it's true. For everybody, you got to make the decision that's best for you.
For you.
I see where there might be some questions in the decision for reasons that echo what the Big Flow Show said. Like you got one shot at this. You got 4 years, maybe 5 years, maybe 3 years, a minimum of 3 years. You got 3 years to get this right, and your window is so short that the ability to play on national television all the time, the ability to play against top talent, the ability to be considered the best of the best while playing the best from an NFL analysis standpoint is indeed a very short window that you want to take advantage of. So I see where there might be questions about why would you make that choice over going to Florida State. But at the same time, I also see, and I advise, from a personal standpoint, at one point I was telling my own nephew, and he probably thought I was crazy. He was one of the top, I don't know what the star rating was, but he's one of the top cornerbacks coming out. I was like, imagine the story if you were to decide to go to Yale. And for me, it was more of an Ivy League decision than an HBCU decision because this is circa 2009 when the conversation isn't as prevalent when it comes to HBCUs versus PWIs. But the concept was the same. Do something so unique and turn this recruiting process on its head while getting what could be one, right, the best education imaginable. You become a household name because he ended up signing in Florida, but he had Florida, Miami, Florida State, Notre Dame, like all of these offers. You decide to go to whatever, Harvard. Imagine what the alum are going to do to support you. Imagine the story that it's going to be. And so I was coming from that standpoint well before NIL deals. So I also see where there are some very attractive things related to his decision. I see both sides.
I still don't see the don't see the downside. Like I understand what you're saying, like, but they're playing nationally televised games. There's exposure.
Maybe one national televised game a year. Maybe.
But you're comparing you're comparing Jackson State to Florida State in its current condition. He's the number one corner in the country. He could have went anywhere. So he could have went to Alabama, I'm sure. He could have went
for sure.
He could have went to a lot of schools. So understanding that you're comparing it to, Florida State went 5-7. They've really been irrelevant the last few years. So I see what you're saying with Jackson, but that's not his only option. He could, I don't know how many hats on the table.
Maybe so it was a cultural reason.
He could have went to Northwestern, maybe, if his grades was right. And so, even a lot of schools he could have went to where you couldn't kind of make that, they're hotter than Florida State. Yeah, you're right. Jackson State's hotter than Florida State right now. He could have went anywhere,
So that's the comparison then, because what we've done on this show is compared the PWI opportunity, these Power Fives, to the HBCU opportunities. So let's take Jackson State and Florida State out of it. Let's just say the decision he made, right, is at the core of our analysis over several months, and at this point, years. Right, the Thon Maker decision, the Mikey Williams potentially going to an HBCU decision. Isn't his name Thon Maker? Or did I mess that up?
Thon Maker, something Maker. Thon Maker's his cousin or brothers in the league. All right, whatever that Maker do.
Maker. Whatever one went to Howard.
Maker.
Right. And Notre Dame is playing Howard in January. Shout out to Notre Dame, but
he doesn't go there anymore.
I know he's not playing there. I don't know if he goes there anymore. He decided to opt out. So the decision is more about those two competing forces and the opportunities, not Florida State, Jackson State, right? PrimeTime is celebrating the fact that he decided to go to Jackson State. I guess what I'm saying is the deeper question is whether or not this is going to have an impact that stems or the impact is going to go well beyond just Jackson State. Because at Jackson State, you've got Deion, right? But now at Alcorn State, you've got my man January 31st. He went to Grambling State.
Grambling State.
Hugh Jackson, right? At Tennessee State, you got Eddie George. You've got a lot of these prominent NFL names that are taking HBCU jobs. And so I'm just asking, is it a Travis Hunter decision on Wednesday? Is this the beginning of what is now an avalanche such that players are going to take that opportunity versus the other? Because everyone's not going to be the Travis Hunter story. Yeah. This story is big because it's so unique.
I think it's too early, right? Like depending on how it all plays out, right? If he wins the Heisman and goes first pick in the draft and has a great career, whatever.
If he wins a Heisman, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
if he does any of those real successes, if he's All-American, if he does anything short of failure, because that Maker guy that we talked about, he went to Howard. We don't know what happened to him. He
got hurt. And it was a bad run. But who's even the last? Steve McNair is the last HBCU player that was even in a Heisman discussion.
Yeah. And he was a slip through. He was a slip through.
Like 93, 95. What is that?
I think.
A long time ago,
he
man.
Slipped through. So they were like, man, how did he end up there? How come was he at Alcorn State? It wasn't like Steve McNair chose Alcorn State over Michigan or Notre Dame or, you know what I mean? It wasn't like he did that. So it's like it was kind of a non-story. But this dude make this choice. If big things happen for him, look, Master P's son, he's already transferring. So this project's already starting to look bad. Where's the success stories? We haven't seen one.
I think that's a different early. Jackson State is a different case. Dion really came in, obviously, just the way that he was steamrolling at the beginning about how they didn't have the certain resources or there wasn't certain protocols similar to these major schools and major organizations. And he has a standard that clearly he is holding very strong to, and it's showing off in the wins. It's showing in the recruits. The number one cornerback, this kid is not the first major recruit that's come over. He's obviously the biggest ever, but it's been building, right? And the awards that are coming, they're selling out the stadium. It's different than saying, oh, well, Howard's basketball team is still not really competitive, because the Jackson State experiment has been successfully growing, and then we'll see where it goes. But if you said, okay, well, this kid's going to Grambling State, it might not have the same, it's not necessarily the same impact. I think Jackson State, for the moment, is a singular case. It's not an HBCU. It's not an HBCU case. It could be the prototype for what HBCUs can become, but there's no other school that's doing it on the level that they're doing it, at least in the football space.
Edgerrin James' son, shout out to him, also signed an early signing period. He's going to play for Howard University. And, we shall see. I'll say this because it also brings the name, image, and likeness. If you believe the rumors that the Barstools deal, which is been reported to be a multi-million-dollar deal that Travis Hunter got once he decided to go to Jackson State. If you believe that, and I know Dion is trying to sort of, throw water on the flames of that story, but if you believe that, it's also we're at this moment where we see how name, image, and likeness impacts recruiting. Mm-hmm. It's the ultimate. You decided to forego Florida State, Power 5, perennial champion program that because they're in the ACC, at a snap of a finger, I think they're going to be right back into the national championship conversation. They've got that type of – they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. You forego that for Jackson State. And if the rumors are true, you do so because the carrot that was dangled was a multi-million-dollar name, image, and likeness deal that's got nothing to do with what goes on the field. Right? And so I guess that – along with now the transfer portal, because once upon a time, if you made that decision, there was no easy exit to that decision, right? The exit to that decision came with sitting a year out. Not true anymore. So you can transfer. And then the last part of this whole NCAA thing that really is not necessarily under this vertical of this story, but we should talk about it, because it is bowl season, is the opt-outs. You got the flips, right? Kids don't even honor their commitment anymore. You got the opt-outs. Kids aren't honoring their commitment anymore. Coach, it's been real. Teammates, it's been real. But the threat of being injured. I don't want to be the next Jalen Smith. I'm not playing in this bowl game. And then you got the transfer portal that is getting thicker and thicker. Was it Nebraska who only signed a limited number? 12 people, because they're going to get the rest of their incoming class from the transfer portal.
They got to win today.
Say again?
They have to win today. They don't have a chance to build a program. There's no more time left. So they got to build.
Yeah, they got to win today. So here we are at this moment in college football. But before I get there, I got to say shout out to J.R. Smith. He's also an HBCU athlete, went to North Carolina A&T. North Carolina A&T, when I think of the programs and HBCU sports that have really been able to compete with Power 5, North Carolina A&T's track team is legit.
That golf team got to be sweet now, too. They got JR.
They got JR on the golf team. I don't know what his handicap is. But their North Carolina A&T track and field is legit. They moved to the Big South, I think, as a university because of that track program. You go to Greensboro and see that facility, and it's legit, right? So North Carolina A&T deserves a lot of respect, and I think a lot of credit for what this conversation is about, because their offering is very similar, right? They have Olympians on that track team. They compete at nationals. The facilities are amazing. They host big track meets. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for it, although it's about Jackson State this week. So shout out to J.R. Smith. He got a 4.0 and was very proud about it. More athletes need to celebrate that accomplishment versus the performances on and off the field. That in the classroom performance should be celebrated. So shout out to J.R. Smith. And then let's end on that. Like, you got the flips, the opt-outs, the transfers. NCAA college football is something unique. Travis Hunter is the big story, but there's all of these side stories. What do you guys think as we enter bowl season, looking at all these opt-outs, as we saw in this week's tale of the early signing period, all the kids that have flipped and have really, no true commitment to the school that they committed to, and then the transfer portal, because as many people have celebrated Travis Hunter's decision, as many people have celebrated it, just as many people have said, well, if he don't like it, he can just transfer. The state of college football, I think, is in flux. Not to mention the Wild Wild West of the name, image, and likeness legislation. Here we are. What say you guys? What do you see coming out of this? And do you like the state of affairs when it comes to college football?
I think the state of affairs is just exposing a lot of the deficiencies and the ineffectiveness of the current policies. So if anybody's upset about anybody opting out, what would solve? You know how you keep somebody in their job? Pay them the money. The colleges are not paying them, so why are you expecting them to have this loyalty to the school? And they're looking at the edge of multi-million-dollar contract. Why would you put yourself in a position to make $0 and risk getting injured before you walk into what is at that point a foregone conclusion that you're going to be a multimillionaire within the next 6 months? So
you get
if
no
that's what you're
penalty
expecting, no penalty. What's the penalty?
Nothing.
They can't withhold your check. Why? Because they don't pay you. So at that point, what's the problem? So then, it's funny that it's consistently being criticized, but the reality is they've already paid as much of their dues as they needed to, and now they're saying, all right, I'm protecting my investment. Because why? Because I'm not seeing I didn't sign a contract. I'm not compensated. There's no salary involved in this. So at that point, you can't hold them accountable. And it's even worse that there's coaches that are making 8 figures almost, that are like, nope, I'm not gonna go play. I'm not gonna coach that bowl game. I gotta go.
I'm opting out to you, right?
Yeah, I gotta go with the second line and go recruit for LSU while before early signing period opens.
Big facts.
And he did try to get the second line to get him into the living room.
Yeah, I look at
Big Flow Show, man. As a dad that just went through the process, man, what do you see with this whole current state of affairs? College football, before we get out of here. It's the primetime episode. And before I let you answer that question, please, I got to tell the audience members who are watching live, please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know. Please subscribe in both the YouTube channel and in the podcast space, whatever is of your liking, your podcast space. What do you think, man? The current state of affairs, college football.
I think that we're kind of in a flux, which is understandable, going through some growing pains and different things. People are starting to just realize, the loyalty stuff. People throw that around. It's just like somebody who calls you and says, "Oh, we're family." Anytime somebody says we're family, it's because they're usually trying to get you to give them some money, trying to get you to do something that doesn't make any sense, right? So now it's like, oh, these guys aren't loyal. They're backing out on their team. They're saying all these guilty things because as a fan, you want to see this, you want to see that. Who cares what you want to see at this point? These kids are trying to protect themselves or doing what they're going to do. These NIL deals are going to be all over the place. Guys are going to choose the schools we want. We're all going to have our opinion and we're entitled to them. But at the end of the day, we're in a flux. I think things are going in the right direction. People are trying to make money. They understand their worth. They're not being guilted into things. People are flipping. They're transferring. They're doing different stuff because people are looking out for themselves, which is the American way, right? Everything else is some crap that people put
not according to Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney said that there's tampering going on and it's not about the education. Dabo Swinney's a purist. He don't think that's the American way.
Now that's happening. That just started.
Yeah, it's all tampering. Everyone wants to go and do whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll take my son's class, right? We had 4 guys decommit. Everybody's so mad. They're frustrated. All the fans can't believe he did this, blah, blah, blah. We had a kid that was supposed to go to Colorado at like 9 o'clock in the morning. At night, they flipped him. He was the first guy to sign in the morning. He didn't even have a chance to put it on social media that he was going. It was just a quick flip. Everybody's so excited. How are you so excited here, but you're mad at the 4 kids that switch? It's just everyone just was, convenient opinions on what they're doing. So, hey, this is America. Do what you got to do. Exploit everything that you can ever do, but get as much money out of it as you can. You're only relevant for a certain while, so look out for yourself. You're number 1, 2, and 3. Everything else comes after that. So I don't have a problem with it. It's going to look a little sloppy, and there's going to be some, as dad with the transfer portal, my son's coming in as a young player. I'm a little more nervous now because you look at the depth chart, and the depth chart could change tomorrow. It's not even solidified.
For better or for worse, right? They could bring in receivers.
We got some guys that could take off. We got some stuff. Randy Moss might show up and decide he transfers in. And you're like, man, I want to get. We got a great quarterback at the last minute, but when you want to get a quarterback, I'm like, man, if we get somebody too good, he might bring, the next 5 first-round receivers with him. And now my son's chilling. So it's a tough dog-eat-dog world, but I think in general it's going in the right direction because kids are getting more choices, and they'll figure it out, right? Someone's going to figure out what makes more sense. I hope.
We'll leave it there. Thank you, Alvin Miller, for that one comment, man. One of the live audience members says slavery is over, and he says that Clemson has never educated its players, and I laugh about it. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I do think that it is. It stinks with irony that someone like Dabo Swinney, who, when you look at, for me, when I was deciding where I was going to go to school, I was looking at the graduation rate amongst Black athletes because it was simple math for me. I'm going to probably hang around brothers from different parts of the world that are athletes that either play on a football team or run track, because those are the 2 sports that I was involved in college. And I want to look at if the people that I'm going to be hanging around, if they're graduating. It was simple math for me. But a lot of parents don't look at that. So it stinks with irony that these coaches, that if you look at the graduation rate, both on a holistic level, but then if you break it down for the Black athletes, it stinks with irony that these same coaches now have an issue with the leverage that the players have. And as a lot of people said when it came to PrimeTime, Dion, and the Florida State fans getting mad, is they said it ain't no fun when the rabbit got a gun too. Same thing is true with these athletes now having leverage. I'm torn about where we are and whether or not the state of influx is where we want to be. I think that there has to be some safe ground that we land on, because these are still young people. And when you're young, you make decisions. You look at the transfer portal. Spencer Ratliff, gone. The quarterback from Ohio State, kid from Texas, what's his name? Eber, whatever his name, gone. When I was young, I made decisions. Quinn Ewers, that's his name, gone. Thanks, research. When I was young, I made quick, rash decisions. And I think that as we try to find what is going to be a safe ground to land on in college football, we got to be cognizant of the fact that these are young people. So let's make sure we put them in position to make the best decisions, not the ones that are just the best ones for right now. Because you are exchanging 4 years for 40 years. And that education is going to go a lot longer than your football, basketball, or any other sport career. and we'll leave it there. This episode has been entitled Prime Time, because there's so many primetime things that happen in sports, business, and entertainment this week. Like we ask you every week, please like, please comment, please share, tag a friend, tag a foe. Congratulations to Steph Curry and his 3-point accomplishment. Congratulations to our guy. I told you I was going to end right where we started. The Big Flow Show Part 1. No, the young Reggie Farima. Same name, different person. But the family is celebrating it. Here on the Ball Hog Sports Talk, we celebrate that too. Y'all make sure y'all check out Mr. Reggie Farima for the Northwestern Wildcats over his football career. And he definitely will do well in the classroom as well. Proud of you, young man. Keep up the great work. Keep up being a great example for other student athletes. And with that, it's your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mountain South, a.k.a. Mr. Excessive Celebration, a.k.a. Breezy. It's been another great week of the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. We only know how to do it one way. I love the fact that you joined us and allowed us to argue. Oops, we mean debate. We only do it rough, rugged, and raw. We do it once a week. So catch us next week, next Friday. Please like, please comment, please share, tag a friend, tag a foe, and subscribe in the YouTube world and in whatever podcast format you choose. Subscribe, y'all. We is out. Peace.